Hey guys, Drifter here. Welcome to World War II In Depth. In today's episode, we're going to be reviewing the primed nerf, and we're going to talk about a very important flinch bug that I discovered that's causing some feedback issues in the game and making you feel like you're flinching a lot more than you are. So for some quick facts, the recent update nerfed the bar and primed. The bar got an additional recoil increase. It still feels pretty good to me. I personally did not notice this increase, but as I do not have access to recoil statistics at the moment, all I can say is it doesn't seem that bad. Primed got nerfed by 85% as confirmed by Condry. He said it was an 85% reduction on its effects, but I did find something else while I was testing primed. I'm going to show you the prime test and you'll see that it's not very different, but I think that there is a feedback issue with the flinch system in Call of Duty World War II that's causing players to feel like they're flinching a lot more than they should, and the flinch seems in some way tied to latency or has some sort of processing delay, kind of like the idle sway processing delay, which is going to be the in-depth episode linked down there below in the description. Showing this off is going to be a little bit different today. It's very minute, extremely slow, and requires frame by frame, so we're going to hop on over to my editing program. So this is what the in-depth episode looks from my end of thing. We're here in Sony Vegas where I can edit, and I've got it zoomed in so the preview window is as big as possible and most of the edits are down here. But it's important to do it this way because I'm telling you, if I don't do this frame by frame with live commentary, you won't notice it. So we're going to go ahead and get started with our primed versus non-primed test. This is a PPSH with normal on the left, primed on the right, and we're going to take a shot from the bar. And let's see what we get here. Frame by frame. We're going to turn on these guidelines too, because I think these guys help. So we're going to go ahead and we take a shot, and you'll notice that with primed on the right, it moves significantly faster, and before the normal one even kind of takes off. And you can see its maximum deflection point up here. The zoom in the background is slightly different, but the normal one never really catches up to the same height, and it even recenters faster. Now there is a difference because you've got idle sway, which is why this bar is up here and this bar is down there, but we can watch it again and you just notice that primed seems to be performing worse, which is strange to me. We're going to find another one with the same thing, primed on the right, normal on the left, no zoom this time. And you'll see that we get shot, and at this time they're more or less moving identical in sync with each other. They've loaded properly, and you'll see that the normal one does kick slightly more than the primed one, but it's a really tiny comparison, and they both recenter at about the same time. So I would say, okay, primed is working there. It's doing something, not very much. It wasn't working in the other one, which I found strange. Same test as before, we're getting shot in the side because side recoil is important to test. And you'll notice that again, the primed one is moving first and the other one's kind of lagging behind. I think there's a processing delay on how this game calculates flinch, or it has to do something with the connection. But you'll see the primed one moves over here and more or less touches this bar, whereas the normal just kind of barely grazes it. And now we're going back. So again, on this submachine gun, I would say normal is better than primed, or primed is doing nothing at all, and that the delay in processing is doing strange things. You can try again, here we go, with normal and primed on this weapon. You take one shot, and dun da da da, it starts moving, and you'll notice the one with primed is kicking slightly more. We have slightly lesser space on these sides. I'm trying to really hard to find a difference, but those two were almost identical, but I would say that primed is kicking ever so slightly more. Alright, so I'm back with a different test, and when I was originally going through this, one of the things I noticed in CoD World War II is that when you take continuous rapid fire, you get shot and your gun resets and it jumps back down. It's kind of annoying, you can see that here, and I thought that was a bug. I thought that it wasn't handling recoil right, so I went back to compare to other Call of Duty games, and what I found is that that's more or less correct. So here's Black Ops 3, you get shot, and it's more or less going to do the same thing and reset your aim on subsequent shots, and it's annoying, but that is not new to Call of Duty World War II. One thing that I did notice going on, and I noticed this in the test with primed as well, is that in this game you take a shot and your screen goes red, and it stays red, and it's still red, and on the fourth frame something happens. So we have frame 1, we've been shot. Frame 2, nothing happens. Frame 3, nothing happens. Frame 4, we finally get some movement. And then it's going to take those little annoying stutter steps. Well, in Black Ops 3, for comparison, you take a shot, and on the very first frame you get shot, your gun already moves a little bit. That dot moves very slightly. It's very subtle. And then on the second frame, you can really see it going. Third frame, it's deflecting. Now, frame number 4 is where World War II would start doing something. And then, of course, in this one, you get your shot, and it resets really quick. So the resetting isn't an issue, but there is an issue with delay. Sometimes it works great. You can see here I get shot, and it pretty much immediately starts flinching. But some of these other ones are not so much. Let's see what happens on this one. I just picked it at random. See, this one starts immediately. How about this one over here? See, this one is a delayed one. I take a shot right there on that frame, and nothing happens, nothing happens, nothing happens. A little something happens, and we're properly deflecting. There's some sort of strange latency or processing delay going on with the recoil in Call of Duty World War II. So the takeaway from that is that sometimes you flinch when you get shot, and sometimes you flinch a little bit after you get shot. Flinch seems tied to either player latency or has some sort of internal delay on processing. I'm guessing it's an internal delay on processing, kind of like the idle sway on your guns, starting a little bit late and then accelerating really fast and going back. I would highly recommend watching the episode linked below. But it could be tied to either your latency or the latency of the player shooting you. It's kind of strange, and it's not very consistent. The issue with this inconsistency is you will take a shot and your screen will be red for just a little bit and you won't flinch very much, and then you'll flinch after you've already mentally registered that shot, and it's going to feel kind of wonky and delayed, and you'll, instead of flinching when you're taking a shot, you're going to flinch between the shots that are coming in, and it will make it feel very inconsistent. It can make it feel bad in general. It's super bullets. These bullets are stacking. I'm flinching all over the place. It's probably one of the reasons that pros have been saying that primed and the flinch mechanics in general are glitched or not working in some capacity, because this is all about user feedback. And when that feedback doesn't match up with expectations, really strange things can start happening. I don't know exactly what the issue is, but I can present it as is, and hopefully Sledgehammer can fix that. And finally, primed is just about useless now. Primed doesn't have hardly any impact on flinch in hardly any of my tests. If anything, maybe slightly worse, debatably. I wouldn't use it unless I just really want an additional attachment, and I recommend that you also not use it unless you just really want some extra attachments. Guys, that's all for this episode of In Depth. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you learned something useful. If you did, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Drifter out. If you want all the weapon stats for World War II in your pocket to go, then look no further than the Ultimate Utility app by Brass Monkey. It's available on iOS and Android. There are links in the description, or you can just search for it in the App Store.